Here I am in 1999, cruising in the Batmobile at Movie World on my birthday. I loved Batman as a kid. I used to sit in front of the clothes dryer in my undies waiting for my Bat costume to dry because I didn't want to wear anything else. Pretty typical kid behaviour really, but my mum says I've always had an obsessive personality, and I reckon she's right. So when surfing came along, I got fully into it. I started out on the high performance trend, but my intrigue for riding waves led me into the world of surfboard design. I wanted to try everything, so eventually I started shaping. It began as an exploration in feeling out different designs, but eventually I started to see all the different elements of the board on their own. The outline, the rocker, the foil or volume distribution, the rail shape, the bottom shape and the fins. Breaking down the board like this allowed me to see and feel how each element was reacting in the water. The thrill of shaping is in harmonizing these elements of the board to get it to go where you want. It's an endless pursuit of searching for speed and getting it under control. Control, though, is an odd conundrum, though, because often the beauty and fun of surfing is in being out of control, or right on the cusp of spinning out, just holding on by a thin edge. So I resonate with surfers such as George Greeno, Derek Hind and Terry Fitzgerald. My approach to surfing has become less about throwing spray and more about efficiency in critical situations or manoeuvres. The ocean's always throwing something different at you though, so I enjoy shaping for all types of conditions. My name's Harrison Young, and I'd like to take you through a few stories. This is Sam Fairbank. He's 25 years old and he's fresh out of uni with a Bachelor of Business, and he's also got a Bachelor of Music. Sam and I have been friends for a long time, but it was surfing that really brought him and I together. There was this time when he used to ride shortboards, but after he got this 11.3 glider, he just left all his little boards in his shed. I'm pretty sure this might actually be the last wave he ever surfed on a shortboard. And as you can see, he's also pretty into photography, and he's a talented musician as well. Sam's in that interesting space where he's graduated uni, is working at a cool Asian food store called Asian Food for You, whilst he works towards forming a career from his passions and just enjoying it all along the way. You kind of answered this, but what do you like about taking photos?
What do I like about taking photos? That's a mess. I don't have to get into my wetsuit and into the water. Well, that's not true anymore because I do water photos. But what do I like about taking photos? It's hard to explain why you like something. You know, you just, you don't know why you like it. I just like when I see a photo that, captures, a moment or a scene or something which has a really good memory attached to it, like surfing, or for me, going overseas and travelling and going to places and meeting new people and being able to take photos of them, especially when there's, a meaningful cause behind it as well. Yeah, I really appreciate it. I feel like it's powerful stuff, photos and videos can convey things that we otherwise have trouble conveying. I'd love it to be my job. I'm working on it, so every now and then I get jobs, but yeah, it's something I do want to do. I don't know, I feel like I never say I want to do something full-time because there's always 10 million different things I want to do. But photography is definitely one of the main things that I want to spend my life doing. And I mean, if I could make $1 out of it, that'd be cool. I don't know, we're kind of surrounded by all this celebrity, megastar culture where you've got to make it big, but not even just from a career perspective, just from a personal human being perspective. You don't have to do that to have an impact on the world. You can have that satisfying impact in your own little sphere. I guess it's kind of redefining what you see as success. When I see that 1,000 people have listened to my songs, I'm that's pretty cool. If you put 1,000 people just there, it's pretty awesome. Is the quantity or the quality of the relationships that you have in your life more important? I don't feel like I have to, everything I do to make a career and make money, etc., has to be things that I love. But also, I'd dread spending my life just living and having a career that I'm not passionate about. I want to find a good middle ground. As far as photography goes, that's something that I want to pursue as a career. But something that I'll always do as a passion, regardless of whether money comes or it doesn't. If you can find that place where you love what you're doing and the fact that you're earning from it is fulfilling and you're enjoying that process, and the money is secondary to the love for it, then I think you're in a pretty good place. That's the place I'm trying to get to or find.
Before you got the glider, you were riding heaps of different stuff. You're shaping a lot of boards as well. You shaped 6 boards. maybe more. You even had a shed for all your boards.
The shed turned into a museum.
Yeah. And then you got the glider, and like it wasn't even a slow progression.
No, it was like
you got that glider, and that was it. You just never rode other boards again.
I think out of respect, I rode the little red board that you glassed for me.
Yeah.
Once.
You rode it once.
And it was fun, but I was like, man, this is only half a board. So I went back to the glider. I like my glider because it helps me to assert dominance over the lineup. Wait, let me say that with a straight face.
I've been working as a surfboard laminator for the past few years and strongly believe it's in everyone's best interest for surfboards to be built to a high quality standard. It can be difficult to know where to go to get quality, but my simple suggestion is to ask where and how boards are being made and who you want to support. Mark from Dessa's store in Pridgeon believes in quality, and he was kind enough to open up his shop for me to film in. The surfboard industry is a tough gig, and the key to quality often lies in the shaper's business scale. There are generally 3 scale levels they fall into. 1. The small guy. These are generally skilled hand shapers doing custom work. Relative to the market, they produce a lower number of boards, somewhere between 50 to 200 a year. This is enough to keep them busy with shaping, meaning that usually they'll outsource the glassing to a glass shop. 2. The middleman. Coming from the small guy, the middleman decides to grow the business as more orders are coming in. The key difference, in my opinion, is the middleman runs their own factory and has employees. They are producing all their boards start to finish, shaping and glassing. This introduces a large number of overheads: rent, electricity, wages, and the cost of materials for glassing surfboards. To help cover this cost, the middleman, now with a glassing facility, will usually do contract glassing for other shapers. In my opinion, this has to be the hardest place to be. Running the business, building the boards, paying the wages. But someone has to do it, otherwise there is no industry. 3. License agreements. For this part of the scale, I headed to Surfboard Empire, where Corey kindly allowed me to film. This level is your brand of surfboards being built outside of your own factory. Many of the big labels such as Channel Islands, Christensen, Paizel and Lost, to name a few, operate like this. There can be a bad stigma with regards to quality behind mass-produced boards, but this isn't always true. Many of these brands operate under international license agreements, and the companies seek out quality, local glass shops and board builders all around the world to get their boards built there. Interestingly, the middleman is heavily relied on to facilitate this scale of growth, as their factories are often where the glassing for these boards is outsourced to. So it's become apparent to me that in many cases, the small guy and the big guys can't exist without the middleman's services of glassing. Mitch Surman is a middleman. How's your mask, eh? Actually, first, let's just go like, what's your name?
Yeah, my name's Mitch Surman.
Cool. What year were you born?
1990.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought it was 89.
Nah, 90.
Yeah, right.
So, when I was kind of doing it as a hobby, I was working at a restaurant at night, making boards during the day. That's how I did it, five nights a week. And then boards in the daytime. I actually had a factory with my good friend, Scott from SLS Surfboards. It was down in Caloundra and Moffat Beach. And we'd work together and kind of just take our turn. It was a pretty small space. He wanted to go back to plastering, had a lot more work going on there. So Scotty ended up doing that. Owns a really successful cafe now called The Pocket. He went to that, and then I had to take the factory on. And I remember thinking, this is just my hobby, you know. Now I'm going to have to pay for the whole factory. We used to split the rent, you know, so it was a bit stressful for the first couple months because I wasn't really in a business mind of, okay, I'm going to do this as a job now. I did it because I want to make boards and do everything along the way. you know, but it took me so long to manufacture a board that by the time I paid my rent and my overheads, I was literally going backwards every week. You know, so the only way for me to kind of progress was teach one of my friends and let him take some pressure off me so I could shape more, so we could, you know, do our 3 or 4 boards a week instead of myself just doing the one. And I guess when you're starting out, it's really hard to charge top dollar because you're still learning. So I was kind of just getting just above cost, and yeah, anyway, put my prices up a little bit, brought my friend on. We started making a few more boards, just covering the rent. Did that for some years, and yeah, I started to get some momentum in the surf industry, and it was amazing. Had a lot of support. The place I was in, the factory, got sold, so I had quite a short amount of time to move out.
Yeah.
I moved out of there, and obviously I had all the stuff because I'd bought the glassing stand. Well, I built all the glassing stands, everything. So I had just a storage shed full of gear ready to go, looking for a place. I remember trying to rent spaces, and people were like, A, you're pretty young, and B, you make surfboards. B, you make surfboards. You're too high risk, and too high risk making surfboards, too high risk being young. So, no. And I would go around the real estate agents and find out who owned the property, call the person, and they'd say, don't call me ever again.
That's brutal.
Yeah. So one of my good friends owned the factory we're in now in Kunda Park, and he comes into our cafe all the time and said, hey, I have a factory in Kunda Park, you're more than welcome to set up there. Set up there, and the same thing happened. Obviously the overheads were double in that space, so we obviously had to make more boards. And then, yeah, progression kind of started. We made more boards, but what happened was we still weren't paying the bills properly, so I needed to look at other avenues. My dad was working in the mines, and he wanted to come home, so the only way to bring him home was to start making other people's boards. So we could do more boards, pay more people. Obviously your margin's very minimal when you make other people's stuff, but it allows you to pay your staff. We looked at who we could glass for. We did quality products, so we were very fortunate. A few people jumped on board. They're still with us today. Yeah, and we glass their boards and have been for a long time now. But getting the scale right in the business was the biggest thing for us. Like, we needed to make more of my boards to make more money, or get more contract glassing work. And the contract glassing work is so amazing because it teaches you, as myself, how to be better at what we do, how to be better shapers, how to be better finishers, and you're not flooding the market with a product that isn't perfect. You can go down another avenue, which we will never go down. Well, my product will never go down. Surfboards won't ever do this, flood the market, because what happens is, if we have second-hand boards on sale, or someone who's bought one of our boards needs to sell it, they sell so fast. They can guarantee that they're going to sell that really quickly. If we flood the market, that changes that. There's so many of our products on the market that it's really hard to move. So, second-hand market for our boards is strong. So I know that my customer is going to be able to sell that board. So financially, it's a security for them. I can focus on doing a better product. We want to create a product that people want. We don't want to push it onto them and go, oh, that's the cheapest longboard on the market, or, you know, it's relatively cheaper, I'll grab one of those. We want to be high-end, and we want people to go, oh, I've got an MS, you know, I've got a Surman surfboard. Be stoked on that. So we treat those contracts that we lock in like our own products, and that's why when we send them to them, they go, oh wow, your product's amazing, the finish is so good, and it's security for us all. It's security for them as well, because they know they're going to get a good product. We know that we're going to have a good product, and we know that we can wait for our orders to come in. So, you know, we're not scraping the barrel going, we need to get orders, we need to flood the market, and it's such a bad thing to be in that business frame of mind. And I know that my workers there do a top-notch job. I know for a fact that our factory produces the best finishes in Australia. And the people that we make boards for, who are the biggest in the world, say that. We 100% know that for a fact. So when we want to scale our stuff, or we want to scale our business, manufacturing a quality product, it matters, because it's not false economy. Because if we created a below satisfactory product for the big companies, we wouldn't be around forever, and we wouldn't be looking at scaling to a bigger factory at the moment, you know?
Yeah.
But we can scale, okay, we need to step to 100 boards a week to get to this one, but I can still keep my stuff niche. You know, like, you've always got to have a vision. I have a vision, okay, cool, I can take on these people, but we need to get to, you know, A to B, and how do we get there? We need these people, and these people. It's scary because everyone's my family that works with me, I see, you know, and if I don't see them every day, I still see them as a family member. I give them a hug, how you going, what's going on, what can I do? And you always want to do more, but when you have small business, it's so hard. Like, if I have multinationals backing me, that's a different story. But when it's your own money, everything that I have is come from nothing. Like, I've created it, and it's a really, really hard thing, because every cent that you spend has come from zero. So yeah, like, I've had times where I'm sitting in the shower literally crying because I can't pay a tax bill. I've had so many times, and it happens regularly. But that's, I guess, what makes businesses successful. Okay, you need to be driven to, okay, this person looks like they're going to be an asset for me, and trust that person, allow them to grow with you, and you grow together.
What about running the factory makes you stressed?
Lots. Numbers is hard. You have to scale, so we spreadsheet everything and not costing out everything, so, which is scary because it shows you how much money you don't make. When you're making money, that's okay, but it's still small. So numbers are key. Like, you've got to be hitting targets each week to be able to even pay your bills. And then if you can't, then your savings, which I have another business, so my savings is being used in that at the moment because of COVID has unfortunately torn that to pieces. So you'd hope that the businesses help each other. So I always look at it, the scale of what this one needs to do and the scale of what this one needs to do. Some jobs you make money on, some jobs you don't. And you've got to scale out what's going to make the business money each week. And that's really hard to get those numbers right and those brands right to make that work. That's really hard.
Yeah.
So my worst nightmare is having to walk into that factory and tell my staff, guys, it's done, you know? So we always pay our accounts before they're due. We own everything. So, and we need to make sure that that scale is high enough that the business, when the business is in the negative, it's still okay. We never want to put the business in a position when it's in negative for 2 weeks. We can't afford it.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel as though we are successful, because we care about that. And I feel as though everyone cares about that. But you need to make sure that the fact of the matter is you're not drawing too much from your businesses, and you need to make sure that your scales are right and what your buy-ins and payouts are add up. You know, you put everything, it works on a percent, but that is really stressful. It's the same in our other business.
Yeah.
It's the same in anything.
How stressed are you?
At the moment, not really.
Okay.
Because I meditate every day, breath work every day. I move every day, so I go to the gym every day.
Yeah.
You need to stay really healthy, which then mentally keeps you healthy.
Right. Is that
No.
Is that something you've learnt to do?
Yeah, had to. Otherwise, I would not be here.
Right.
It affects you to the point that you just do not want to exist.
Right.
If you don't want to exist,
Yeah.
it's you can work as hard as you want in business, but sometimes things don't work, and that's just factual. And at the end of the day, you think, oh, okay, I could go get another job and it would help, but you've created something that is so amazing with an amazing group of people that you don't want to let down, and making sure that they're never let down is a stress in itself that anyone in business, or it's even when you're in a relationship, you don't want to let your partner down. In a business, it's the same thing. Small business, people are your family, it's the relationships. The more people you have working for you, the more stress that is, because you need to make sure that they are secure in their jobs and their lives, and then they're confident, you know. You can't go in every week and say, hey, we got no money, that is so stressful. It's the most stressful thing in the world. And that's why I sit in the shower and cry sometimes, because people don't want to talk about that. Yeah. Because that's something that people don't bring up, and you know, and then people bring out depression and things like that. That's where a lot of things come from, is they build up. So if you can find avenues of ways that release that in, okay, this thought that's going in my head is negative, if you can turn that positive, as soon as that negative thought hits your brain, you need to turn it positive, because every day you're faced with that. You know, oh, should I have went that wave? Oh, that was such a good wave. But just turn it around. If I went that wave, I'd probably broke my board, you know? And that's what I've been working on so much the last 6 months, and that's changed my life. And that's just something, everyone's different, the way they deal with things, but that's how I've trained my brain. You know, a long time ago, the surfboard industry was obviously very closely aligned with drugs and alcohol, and you can still see that in the industry, obviously, but as a bank looking at that, okay, cool, what is the industry? Surfboards, okay, they look more into it. It's really hard to progress in that sense. As a business owner for surfboards, I feel as though that we're slowly changing it for workers in the surf industry. Like, you know, our workers are on hourly, like you can go to the bank, this is how much I'm getting. Okay, cool, that's awesome. The biggest thing I want out of business is to see my workers buy houses. Amazing. It'd be the best thing in the world for myself, you know, and I'd love to see the industry recognised. It would be an amazing thing for a lot of people in the industry, but I think we've got quite a lot of distance to cover before that happens.
Yeah.
A, surfboards are way too cheap. Way too cheap. B, people bringing in surfboards from overseas countries, paying people barely nothing to manufacture a surfboard, need to not be as supported as people that are paying Australian wages to have a quality product manufactured, which there are a lot of people starting to do that. And it's amazing to see. Then C, I feel as though there has to be some type of industry where the workers are getting paid enough to enjoy what they're doing to all make money. Because I see a lot of people on contract work piece rate that are getting paid very small amounts.
And that actually ties into the next question, because there are no apprenticeships in the industry.
No.
So how do you get into it? Do you know?
Yeah.
Because, like, yeah, people should get paid what they're worth, but it's hard to get to a level where you're worth something.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and that's...
what do you think about that?
I feel as though when I started, that was... The industry is so closed door for that reason. And the generation before myself, probably a couple generations before myself, they didn't want to pass that knowledge on because it was a feeling for them, I've spoken to people about it, that they would lose work because that person may do it cheaper, person may do it quicker. Instead of working together and making a better product, they didn't want to bring those people on. So we need to change that mindset. That's the worst mindset in anything. I think like the biggest thing is I want my children to be proud of what I've done. And I feel as though in the surf industry, it's an industry that is really hard to make money. So it's kind of like, and when you say, oh, I'm a surfboard builder, it's something that you nearly don't want to say. And I think you should be proud to say that because you're manufacturing something that's bringing someone so much joy in their life. But because the industry needs a lot of work, you don't want to sit at the dinner table full of successful people and say, oh yeah, I make surfboards. Right, what's that? You make boards? Okay.
Yeah.
You know, that needs to change. You need to be proud.
Yeah, let you go.
Yeah. Yeah, the community aspect of anything is so key. And our community here is insane. It's so good. But it would be amazing to see more of the community on locally made products because that's supporting their community. You know, if you're supporting your community and you're supporting it through and through, that's pretty cool to see. I feel as though it's getting really good. It's when you paddle out in the water, it's pretty much all local boards, which is amazing to see. That is a big thing. I feel like if we all surf and we all enjoy surfing, let's all enjoy each other.
His daddy is so proud. My boy's a surfing machine. Some corporate superstars say some come taste of gold. And Mitchie says no way, I ain't trading in my soul. Oh, can I get a refund please? This isn't what it seemed. I learned my lesson now. Your boys will cut me out my knees. I don't want your money, you can't have my boys. I don't want your super yacht, I don't want your toys. I don't want your money, you can't have my boys. I don't want your super yacht, I don't want your toys. Now down at the factory, Mungy's on the squeegee. He's landing up some boards, and Hanky takes it easy. Kendo's working downstairs, Braden's filling up some resin, hoping that Mark will say, boys, you both got some heaven. And Big Al looks for 80 grip. Dylan's on the sander. Maddie's tucking edges. coming again, though. There's a man at the door. He's got a proposition. Tell Mitch you give me a call. It's a full-time position. I don't want your money, you can't have my boys. I don't want your super yacht, I don't want your toys. I don't want your money, you can't have my boys. I don't want your super yacht, I don't want your toys. I don't want your money, you can't have my boys. I don't want your super yacht, I don't want your toys. I don't want your money, you can't have my boys. I don't want your super yacht, I don't want your toys. It's not gonna flash or anything, so everyone just you, yeah. Woo. Thank you, Alex.
Where's it gonna go?
It's gone.
Really?
Is that about
Yeah.
10, 5 seconds? look at Harrison. Who's that? Crick.
Echo. Hey.
Say hello. Say hello. Good boy, good girl. Well done.
So, how did you actually get into surfing? Like, was it your dad or?
Yeah, Dad sort of started helping, pushing me on waves when I think I was 7. And it was Christmas time. I got my first hot pink Wahoo surfboard.
Yeah.
And I learnt to surf that board at Mooloolaba at the spit there. And then it was on and off because Dad got us into motocross. So I was actually tossing up, maybe I'm going to be a professional motocross chick.
Really?
Yeah. I think maybe a few years later when we started getting a bit older and Dad took us to Noosa and we'd take the GoPro there and the ocean, the surf, it's relaxing and it's calming, so it always has made me happy. And I've sort of grown up around the water and have always been a water baby or girl.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big thing, and to be able to surf and do something in the ocean, is, I reckon, epic.
Yeah.
Every time I surf, I feel like happy. I've done something. I've conquered the world. Not really, but yeah, it's a good feeling.
This is Siena Hanna. I've known her for about 8 years now. She's been ripping since she was a little grom, and she's always been a real keen competitor. She's got dreams of competing at the highest level. Reaching that level is real difficult, and it's financially challenging as well. It costs a lot of money to travel around to all the events of the qualifying series. Usually sponsors will help pay for their athletes to go to these events, but obviously, like any sporting industry, there isn't quite enough sponsorship money to go around. It's tough because I really feel as though I've seen Sienna not be given the opportunities to help her reach her goals, whilst I see others around her with less talent have been given those opportunities. And it's not really anyone's fault, but it's a tough reality to swallow. It's cool though to see Sienna not complaining about it. She really understands it's just the nature of the marketing beast, and often a lot more about who you know. She's working to pave her own way, but to chase that dream, there are a lot of big life decisions you need to make. I just think she surfs so good, and it's really inspiring to watch. Whatever path she takes, I'd love to see the world be inspired by her surfing.
So we got the little trophy box. I've even still got my footy mouth guard in there. So we kept some medallions and things. So I did 4th, 2nd and 4th. Nice. So that's what made me Australian champion too.
Oh, really?
Because I got the results and ended in the finals in all 3. So that was like off point wise. And actually in that comp, I won the wild card into the Corona and Quicksilver Pro.
Oh, really?
Yeah, at Snapper.
At Snapper.
And then they delayed it because of the coronavirus.
Oh.
And then they haven't done it since. No. So I missed out.
That is gnarly.
And that's massive, and that was a massive opportunity to get recognised.
And if you don't have the sponsors, like you said, you work, so you can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is good. Like, I work and I save to do these comps, but obviously I also need to afford my life and bills and things, so I can't always just put all my money towards surfing. Obviously, when you're older, you just need the bigger support sponsors to keep on going.
Do you believe if you got that opportunity, you have what it takes?
I've never been really the one to say, yeah, I do. A lot of people have said I do, and they do swear by it, and I've been in trouble for not committing, but again, I can't. Like, it's hard. I don't. Yeah, I can't afford it. When I travelled in Indonesia and stuff and saw like how young kids and stuff would rip and shred even harder than me, and I just thought like these kids, if they were to have the money or support or sponsors, they would get so far. There's so much money involved, and yeah, unfortunately not everyone's rich and has the sponsors to be able to afford to do that, which is sad, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
And I still enjoy just surfing, so I'm happy to, if I do or don't make it, you know, like I'm still doing what I love.
Yeah.
As a player, it's been a dream of mine since I was a little boy. So being here on stage is just an honour, hey, so thank you so much for this space to be able to play. I really appreciate it. We're on, guys, we're on. You know what time it is?
glad there's a cat in it, because cats are quite important to me in a couple of ways.
What ways?
Oh, just my last name in Italian means many cats.
Really?
Yeah. So it's kind of like, this is kind of cute.
Yeah.
Hezekiah was me having a go at something that felt pretty impossible. It was definitely putting myself in a position of vulnerability where I was like, how the heck am I going to do a heavy metal band on the Sunshine Coast? Like, this is going to be just so random. But I really just thought, nah, like, it's just, this is the art that I wanted to create. I would have been 18 when I started surfing. So I guess in some regards that's maybe quite old. I didn't grow up with the surf. I grew up in North Queensland and there's no real waves there. I remember my first surf really well, and it didn't catch anything. It was just really bad weather. But I remember catching the whitewash back in so it was just all this painful trying to paddle out the back, and I had obviously no paddle strength, didn't really know what I was doing at all. But I remember catching the whitewash back in, and it was just like clear as day, this thrill of, oh my goodness, like this is what this is going to do. This is a natural like speed and force that's gonna like push you, and it's all about harnessing that and yeah, enjoying that. And so I just got addicted to it after that and never looked back. Hey, yeah, probably one of my most favourite spots is Noosa, surfing tea tree, and there's like hardly anyone out, and the face is just this lavender, and in the distance might be this like orange glow behind like some of the North Shore hinterland or out the back there, and it's just like, yeah, that's probably one of the most richest energies for my soul to indulge in. Yeah.
Nice.
This guy, Gatti, he's the guitarist behind most of the music that you've heard in this movie. Lach and I met about 3 years ago when he bought a surfboard from me. When we met, we both looked at each other like, I know you from somewhere. Turned out we actually just started going to the same church, but hadn't realised it yet. The board Lach brought from me was a 5.3 twin fin. This was one of my early shapes. It was a pretty crude board, but it had insane speed. The kind of board that flies, but if you make a wrong move, it's throwing you off. Really fun to ride. The outline and the bottom shape was inspired from George Greeno's kneeboard spoons, something I'd been experimenting with. That feeling of a bottom turn on a kneeboard spoon is second to none. You're so low to the water, it just feels so extreme laying the board on rail and feeling it project you down the line. Lach's a pretty extreme character. It's real cool to see him resonate with such an extreme board. Lach's had a pretty tough time through this whole coronavirus era. Loss of work and distance from friends has been challenges and something he's had to navigate. Some doors have closed for Lach, but others have opened up. And it's been inspiring seeing him flow into different opportunities.
I wouldn't say it's ended, but it's definitely on hold. We kind of got to a position, we're in different parts of the country. It was crazy. We'd do so many practices and we'd do so many rehearsals just trying to get the songs right, like Butterfly and Freight Train Express, and just try and get all those songs super tight, and then we'd get up on stage and like just the gig would just be over so quick. And yeah, it's pretty addictive to be able to, like I said,
previously to be able to play your own music and then actually get the privilege to perform it. Yeah, definitely would love that space again, an opportunity. So a couple of boxes to tick, but at the same time just letting things happen naturally with band music and yeah, just whatever. Some mates, if they want to have a jam, you know, just being sort of present and keen for that and just having fun. So there are some solid goals, but then it's also going with the flow and letting the music do the talking and being responsive to that. Yeah.
Sweet. I want to talk about inspiration. My shaping inspiration comes from my friend Gavin Johnson. I met Gavin when we were 10. He joined the school I was at in grade 5 and I was tasked by the teacher with showing him around on his first day. I distinctly remember those below-knee board shorts with prints of surfing photos all over them. He breathed surfing. I didn't really surf when he and I became friends, I was more into skating. But around age 13, Gav started pushing me to surf with him a lot more. He was there when I got that first wave that got me fully hooked. I remember surfing past him and that look on his face like he was just stoked to see me enjoying it. From then on, Gav and I started surfing a lot together. We had this sort of competitive little rivalry going where we were always pushing each other with little competitions like who would do an air first in front of the other person. This was around 2007, right at the tail end of those super rocket out, highly foiled, narrow shortboards. They weren't the best boards to learn on, but that's what I was influenced by. Gav, though, was so far ahead of all of us at the time with the boards that he wanted to ride. I'm pretty sure his two favourite surfers were Mick Fanning and Dave Rastovich. He saw Mick shredding on thrusters and was into it, but he was also exposing himself to everything that Rasta was doing with fishers and alternative boards. At age 14, he shaped his own board. A green 5'3" twin keel fish. At the time I didn't understand why he would want to make a fish, let alone ride one. I scratched my head at him for riding it, and yet he would take it out when the surf was pumping. He loved it. Jake Oelkers and I went to school together from preschool all the way through to graduating. Jake is one of the most exciting surfers to watch I know. He surfs with zero ego. He's not really worried about anyone else, just loves it for what it is and enjoys quietly pushing his own surfing at his own pace. Jake and Gav lived down the road from each other for a lot of their years growing up. We all hung out a lot, but Jake and Gav definitely spent the most time together, and hence they had a very close friendship.
I'm filming you though. Wait, stay there, I need to zoom in on you.
Growing up with Gav was just a bunch of laughs, eh? Like, you just had to pull a funny face and he would piss himself laughing. He was just a menace to society without meaning any harm to anyone. Like, he just wanted to have fun. All he wanted to do was have fun and just have a laugh.
Pretend to be a sloth. Jake, hurry up. Oh, I'm pulling. I'm pulling, so hurry up.
So I woke up and I still remember the song that I had like my alarm to. And if I hear that now, it's just like a flush of emotions, because it's like that's like related to waking up and then first thing just hearing the news that he'd passed.
Yeah.
Well, not even hearing it, just seeing things like rest in peace, Gavin. And I straight away spoke to his mum and she was just like, yeah, I'm sorry, buddy, like, this has happened. And I just didn't believe it, like, just, I don't know, you'd had family members, like grandmas and stuff pass, but when like a good mate passes, it was, I didn't believe it for a while, that's for sure.
In December 2012, we tragically lost Gavin to depression. It was really difficult to understand, and really only in hindsight and from talking with his mother, I see how Gav had a sorrowful tendency, the type of person who really feels the weight of every word or action done by them or to them. It seems that slowly this turned into thoughts like I'm a bad friend, and eventually drugs fueled this fire, and we lost Gav without ever really knowing what was going on at the time. I still miss Gav a lot. I surf a lot of junky waves on my own, which is the time that especially makes me miss him. Gav was always keen to just surf anything. I think a lot about how fun it would be to surf with him now.
There's still times where I'm like I still got pictures and stuff of him, and you look at it and you're like, I miss him, like, what a legend.
Yeah.
But compared to the start, like, the start was just like, this is so, like, surreal, like, living so much time with him, spending so much time with him, and then just bang, gone. Like, it was super hard. And I don't know if I had any sort of method of coping with it, but...
Just time.
Yeah, just time heals.
There's so much of Gav's story that only in hindsight I'm able to appreciate. I find myself now 10 years down the track post his passing, looking back deeper to see who he was, and in turn I've been really inspired by his achievements. Everything I do in the world of surfing feels like a celebration of Gav's life.
Back then I didn't know anyone surfing a fish. That was just him, just doing different stuff. Like, it wasn't standard for every 13-year-old to just shape their own board.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool. I guess different boards are cool because you got completely different feelings, like, rather than just a short board. I remember hopping on that fish and just going so fast. I was like, wow, this is crazy. But yeah, I still don't. I know stuff all about surfing at the moment. I just hop on a board and have fun. I don't know what the fins do or what rails and channels and stuff do. I just go out there and have fun. So.
Yeah, that's cool.
Now that I've started shaping, I finally understand Gav and his green fish. It thrills me to imagine 13-year-old Gav shaping his own board, riding it, experiencing the insane speed of a fish and fully frothing out. Surfing can be an all-encompassing, selfish pursuit. It's addicting and can easily become just about constantly taking waves. In hindsight, I see how Gav was able to overcome that at a young age. He wasn't just taken from the ocean, he was appreciating it and enjoying being a part of it. I've been wanting to recreate Gav's fish for a long time now, but felt to wait for the right time. I realised making the board for Jake was the right time. I finally did it, and it's been a joy for Jake and I to be able to ride it, to connect with our mate Gav and tap into what he was feeling those 13 years ago on his green little fish.
Subtly change, we'll wait for you. Subtly change, please bring something new. Subtly change, the lawyers depend on you. So, subtly change, won't you come running through? Subtly change, dethrone the evil one. Subtly change, restore my reputation. Subtly change, help all the groups be one. Subtly change, point down the loaded guns. Subtly change, I'm scared of it. Subtly change, show me my part in it. Subtly change, I don't want to pardon it. So, subtly change, please give me the heart for it.